And for the starting lineups for Wisconsin, it's a surprise to see Jovana Speshkovsky, the freshman from Belgrade, Serbia, starting. She's somebody that we're expecting to be a big part of this team and coming in with a lot of international experience. Wouldn't be shocked to see her put up some points tonight.
Also, we're talking about Carissa Smith, sophomore from Black Hills State University, making her Stevens Point debut. Some fresh new faces, but same dramatic action between these two teams. I love when the Badgers take on WEAC. Such a physical conference here at the Kohl Center. Just blast to be here right now. Both teams ready. We are officially underway. Sarah Williams takes the opening face-off. And now Natalie Leisinger giving it up to the aforementioned Serbian. Williams working down low, going in. A travel's called.
And a travel from Williams, but you got to look over to the Stevens Point sideline. It's so early. You're already talking about Matt Hockett. Keep an eye on him all night. He's active. He's running up and down the baseline and super excited for his team, and he's excited to be here tonight.
There's a lot of different ways to watch basketball. I swear, after Stevens Point gets themselves a big hustle play, take a peek at their coach because he's fired up. Stevens Point getting on the board and taking an early lead in this matchup. That's Porter giving up to the three-point specialist, Leisinger. Now the Badgers making some change. That's number 3, Tess Myers, the new grad student, expected to be a big addition to this squad. Specializes in threes and another travel.
And I think that's just a product of it being early for Wisconsin. Great defense from the pointers, but it's early. You're getting back into the game. You see Tess Myers travel right there, but you're only a minute into the start of the season, so it's expected to happen.
That's something Wisconsin really struggled with. They committed just under 20 turnovers per game on the season. Now the pointers will get to work. Big collision as Stevens Point gives it up. Jumper left short. Now Porter pushing the pace, swooping under defenders, can't get the layup to go. And Stevens Point was showing some energy to start this game. Bringing it down is Carissa Smith, guarded by Porter.
They're showing some energy in the crowd support for Stevens Point here tonight. It's paint the crowd purple, and they've really done a great job of bringing some fans down from Stevens Point.
Yeah, that's what Stevens Point put on their social media. Let's paint the Kohl Center purple. You got to say, done a pretty good job here, Nate.
For sure, and a good job so far tonight, forcing a few turnovers.
Battle down low, a block, back up another block. And that's something you're going to see quite a bit from Sarah Williams. Shot clock expires. You can see Williams fired up.
It's the main reason she's already a Big Ten, preseason Big Ten first team. She was on the Big Ten first team last year. Averaged 2.8 blocks a game, and you saw her get 2 blocks pretty early right here.
And we're going to be talking about her quite a bit throughout this broadcast, but came into this program as one of the more raw players in college basketball. And now within the course of 2 seasons, she is just so polished. There's Myers feeding it to Williams. Got herself a lane. She'll take advantage and draw a foul.
That's Sarah Williams' bread and butter right there, getting into the paint. She's developed a bit of a three-point shot, but you're going to see her dominate the paint all year, like we mentioned in the beginning of the show. That's what you're going to see from Sarah Williams, and that's a Sarah Williams patent shot.
You can see Gabby Golita there, quick to help Williams up as soon as she hits the deck. Talked about how, it is an exhibition. These players are competitive. They haven't really had game action in well over 6 months. They've been ramping up these basketball activities in June. You can tell they're fired up to play, but right now they got to keep their back of the heads here. You can tell it's all about just having a blast out here. First free throw, no good for Williams.
And I think the thing about having an exhibition is, like you said, Vince, they've played against each other all fall long, playing exhibition matches, or playing not exhibition matches, but exhibition matches against each other. But now you get this first exhibition game. You're playing against a different team. Even though they're not in the same division, same conference, it's still a special time to be able to play.
To the corner, that's Thompson feeding it in, and now down low. And we'll get ourselves a jump ball. Arrow points towards Stevens Point.
Good defense there from Wisconsin. Tess Myers getting down and forcing that jump ball. She's going to be a big addition to Wisconsin this year. Not so much on the defensive end, but really on the offensive end.
And now something the Badgers struggled with last year, just a hair under 30% from 3 on the season. So you get someone who takes about 80% of their shots from outside the arc. That is a big-time transfer pickup for Marissa Mosley. Ball out of bounds, Badgers take over.
Yeah, and a tough pass there from Trushan, the sophomore from Herbster, Wisconsin. A big percentage of this UW Stevens Point team is from Wisconsin, so it's cool to be able to play a big home game against a D1 team in your own state.
Yeah, absolutely. Touched on the intro. So it's a kind of a tradition at the Kohl Center, but the best memory that can be made is beating this Badger team. There's Myers with their first 3-point attempt, donning the W. That one off the mark.
And Tessa Myers, that's something she did a lot at Duquesne. She shot a ton of threes. The majority of her field goals came from the three-point line, so we're bound to see her take a bunch of threes tonight. And UW Stevens Point making some substitutions already. We'll see that a lot in an exhibition game. Teams moving players in and out. You want to get players a lot of action, and yes, you want to have your starters play, but you also want to have everybody play on the team.
Weisinger to inbound, gives up to Myers. There's Sarah Williams where she wants it at the block, spinning, leaning in, and finishing.
Really just an amazing take from Williams. A great pivot there to get to her left hand.
And Williams said going into this year that she still thinks she has another level in her game. Already a premier player in the Big Ten, but Nate, you got to say she's more capable of being a premier player in the entire nation.
She really is, and she's just made huge steps in her from freshman to sophomore year, sophomore to junior year, and now expected to make that big step from sophomore to junior year now.
Carissa Smith, her first jumper, offensive rebound goes. That's something Stevens Point very good, and they took 200 extra shots over their opponents last year due to the offensive boards. There's Myers again behind the arc, and there's Williams again working down low, getting by the defender, goes up through contact, and one for Williams.
And look at the intensity in an exhibition game from Williams. Pumps her fist, a great take, count the basket, and she's just going to keep doing that all night if they let her.
Williams headed to the line, and this is kind of something that development from her across the board has been fantastic, especially so from the free throw line. Really struggled her freshman season, nearly below 60%. Announcer Jinx right on cue, but just under 80% on this year. Myers, no hesitation, left it long, Weisinger the board, back up and blocked.
A good block there from Truchon after committing a turnover a couple possessions ago.
Alexa Thompson leading the way. It's Ava Loftus going through defenders and going in. Loftus from Stoughton, Wisconsin, just about 30 minutes from here getting on the board. I'm sure she's been at the Kohl Center once or twice. Now she's scoring on the hardwood. Williams back to work, fouled.
And I really would love to see Stevens Point. You're going to have to double Sarah Williams. The 6'4" frame of her is tough to defend down low, and you're going to, if Stevens Point wants to defend her, they're going to have to throw a double team on her. And you saw her passing, Vince, last year. That took another huge step forward as well.
Well, she's going to get doubled a lot, not just because she's one of the premier players in the nation, but also because she's a premier player on this team. So you got that ability to keep getting these players in foul trouble. You're forced to double her, and that's when her passing ability, as you just said, Nate, really going to come into play. Williams gets the first one to go. Now, I was hyping up her free throw ability before, talking about how it was 79.5%. It was 0 for 3 before that one right there. Still game number one for a lot of these players. Williams can't get the second. Rebound secured by Stevens Point. Lily Truchon getting the board. Now here come the pointers. In the corner, driving in. Now back out it goes to Thompson, burying the tray.
Great shot there from Thompson.
Alexa Thompson, 341 from three last year, something that Stevens Point needed direly. Get another foul called, and you can see that Sarah Williams just going to work down low. There's just really no answers.
There really isn't, and she just keeps getting fouled, and that's, again, something that Sarah Williams is going to do to opposing teams. We can't stop talking about her right now because the ball just keeps coming inside to her. But what that's going to do to other teams is put them in foul trouble, especially if she can get to the free throw line like she's done so far tonight.
Well, Gabby Golita, a fantastic interior defender and perimeter defender, really just a great all-around player, junior forward. It's kind of going to be a team effort to stop Williams. That being said, when she's 1 for 6 from the free throw line, make it 2 for 7 after that, it's going to be a little bit more margin for error.
And already 5 fouls from the pointers, and pretty much all of them have been committed on a Sarah Williams take to the basket.
I'll tell you, we're talking a lot about Wisconsin, but Stevens Point, currently that 9-6 lead right now. They play good, disciplined ball. They make the right passes, and we got ourselves an illegal screen.
Another announcer's jinx right there. Not as disciplined a ball, but an offensive foul. But yeah, you got to talk about UW Stevens Point coming in here, coming into Wisconsin, firing some shots up, hitting a 3, and already up 9-5, and that's an exciting thing for this crowd to have so far.
Pointers went 15-10 last season, 4-10 in conference. They were a perfect 11-0 out of conference, and what that tells me is that the WEAC, they got some legit teams in there, because Naga Pointers were just scheduling some automatic wins for themselves to start the season. Now some substitutions for the Badgers. That shot will not go for the new addition, Carter McCray.
And there's Carter McRae. She was the leading freshman rebounder in not just the Horizon Conference, but in the entire NCAA. Getting an offensive rebound, that's something that Coach Fro talked about, one of the assistant coaches, that's what Carter McRae is going to do for you.
McRae, the Horizon League Rookie of the Year last season, transferred to Wisconsin, and she's going to be crucial for those minutes without Sarah Williams on the floor, especially in rebounding purposes at Wisconsin. They really struggled as a whole last season. There's Giannis Jimenez, the sophomore, burying the tray.
Jimenez coming out. She started a lot of the first couple games last year, didn't start towards the end of the season, but she's somebody that'll be a key addition off the bench for Wisconsin to add some points to their team.
She's got some of the best handles on the team. Really fun player to loss. Wound up falling out of the rotation last year, but came back and was a real contributor down the stretch for the Badgers. They made that nice run throughout the NIT. Wound up not making the finals. It came awful close. And now Meyer leading the way, giving it to Jimenez, streaking down the court, but can't finish the layup.
Looks like Jimenez just lost exactly where she was on the floor there, and it was a bit too far under the basket, and that's why she missed that one.
Back and forth we go. McIntyre at the top, guarded by Jimenez. Stevens Point, a great pick and roll team, took advantage of that well. Shot clock at 10, feed down low, going up and challenging Williams, but unable to, yet securing her boards, Alexa Thompson. Time running down, three-pointer just short.
Another good defensive possession from Wisconsin.
Tess Meyer given to Jimenez once again, just swarmed by defenders. You can see that's Stevens Point's bread and butter right there.
And I think when you have a size advantage, if you're Stevens Point, you got to swarm on defense, and that's exactly what they just did.
Well, Stevens Point, they are a very disciplined squad, great on the defensive end. What's so great about them is that they know exactly when to collapse. They can tell when a player doesn't have firm control, but they generated a ton of turnovers last year.
They really did generate a ton of turnovers, and a really good defensive team was UW Stevens. You just talk about McRae. She is a great rebounder for Wisconsin, and maybe it's good to have Coach Fro now on the opposite side. She knew how to slow down McRae, so now she knows how opponents are going to slow down McRae and is going to tell her what opponent's strategy is going to be against her.
Cleveland State did win that game by almost 20 points. Probably the most underrated part of the coaches or team success as a whole is those assistant coaches. The head coach, they got a lot of side stuff to deal with as well. These assistant coaches kind of specialize in the X's and O's, maybe a little bit more, and you can tell they're just so crucial to these teams' development. Free throw line jumper, that one is good for Stevens Point. Kelly McIntyre giving Stevens Point back the lead. Now it's Leisinger, hounded outside. To the corner is Porter. She was the second leading rebounder on this team despite being just 5'3". She'll drive in, push shot, left it short. And now a scrum for that board. You can see Badgers in the thick of it. Meyer wants it. She's got it. Open three. Bit off.
And you look over in the white shirt, Matt Hockett might be the sixth defender for Stevens Point. He is so excited, and it was awesome to talk to him earlier.
Yes.
Just how excited he is to be in Wisconsin and just for his team. And he said, when you go back to talk about assistant coaches, Vince, he said his assistant coaches are going to be a little bit more tame on the sidelines, and he's right about that. Coach Hockett is putting in his steps tonight. He's going to close those circles if he has an Apple Watch.
Yeah, it was a privilege to watch Stevens Point researching this game. There was just a moment when they were playing lacrosse, and you could see that Hockett just ran onto the court as soon as that Stevens Point was able to force a turnover through hustle, and he just brings so much energy. You kind of feel off it a little bit. I felt a little fired up after we talked to him, honestly.
Oh, I'm jumping up and down right now, Vince. That was exciting.
Porter handing off to Leisinger. Now Meyer once again. Williams back in the game. Looking to get rid of it. Pick and roll action back to Meyer. Expect that to be a big part of this Badger offense this year. Now Porter finds some room. Can't get it to go, but an offensive board. But now an offensive foul called on the Badgers.
I can't quite tell if Jovana Spashkovsky was going over the back there or if it was just a foul right after she got that rebound, but she did get called for that one.
It's exciting to see, though, Spashkovsky in the starting lineup. Bit of a surprise, but you know that a lot of these Badger players, they're good to go. You get that continuity of players coming back. So you see that surprise, that's got to mean that Spashkovsky has exceeded the expectations thus far as a freshman, has some professional experience playing in Serbia. Got a difficult shot, will not go, and there's Spashovsky securing the board. Now she's pushing the pace. Sees a lane to the rim, goes up, gets it, and one. What a finish!
What a finish and what a take. Spashovsky took that the entire way to the floor, finished with that left hand. That was beautiful. We're going to take a look at that again. A foul there, but a beautiful finish there from Spashovsky, and she was excited about that one.
Yeah, professional experience on full display right there, and she'll head to the stripe. And I'll tell you what, that's got to be tricky for recruiting purposes. I don't know how in the world these Wisconsin assistant coaches have all these connections in all these countries around the world. I'm sure they watch a lot of film on the side just trying to track down these talented players. They might have another one right here.
Wisconsin had Julie Popsilova a couple years ago, who was a talented overseas player, and so maybe there's a little bit of a connection to know that you have talent overseas to go look at.
Well, that's something that coaches need to build relationships with each other. Whenever they travel, you're meeting new people. You kind of want to build those connections, make sure the coaches are giving them their best stuff. There's Spashovsky giving it right back to Porter, who lays it in.
What a beautiful give and go there from Porter. And you saw Porter out on the court 10 minutes before the rest of her team, putting in the work, even though it's an exhibition game. She was excited to be out there and getting another steal.
There she goes, Porter in the clear, and another set of points.
And a mini 4-0 run there from Ronnie Porter. That's the hustle that you saw from her all of last year. That's why she was a starter for every game. She was led Wisconsin in minutes, and that's Ronnie Porter basketball.
Stevens Point calls time. It's a 7-0 run for the Badgers, 3 of their last 3. Stevens Point ambushed the Badgers a little bit early, but Nate, they've definitely responded since then.
And they really have responded, and if Stevens Point wants to get back in the game, it's going to come down to the entire team, and Coach Hockett's going to be a huge part of that. You saw him getting excited over on the sideline. This is now his 3rd season at Stevens Point. He's hired as the head coach in 2022, but he's also the women's tennis coach before that, which I found really interesting talking to him about it. That tennis game and basketball, while it's not a similar sport, the mental side of things is super important. He's also an assistant men's coach for the Pointers, and then also an assistant men's coach at Minnesota Duluth.
Touched on that tennis coaching experience. He wasn't just a tennis coach, he was a brilliant one at that. In 39 matches, 30 wins. That says a lot about the Pointers' athletic prowess across the board as well. But yeah, it's clear that Hockett, just a fired up guy. You can see why his teams respond so well when he is at the controls. Thompson giving it up. That's Carissa Smith now. Gives to Thompson once again, guarded by the pesky Leisinger. Thompson, someone's got a quick first step. She's walled off, has to give it back up. Now a drive to the rim. Down low, up and blocked by Williams. Porter's got the board. She's hounded by multiple players, able to give it up. Badgers got numbers if they hurry. Leisinger will slow it down. And now right back to the bread and butter. Sarah Williams, kick out, open 3. Won't go for the Serbian. Now Porter's got to look.
And a couple open 3s missed there, but that's Wisconsin's bread and butter this year, is going to be that defense turning into offense. A great block from Williams turns into 2 open 3s there on their offensive end.
That's Loftus now, transferring it to Cron. Now a feed down low. Pointers get it back. Layup won't go, but once again, they don't secure an offensive board, something they just thrived with last year. Loftus, now a jumper. Williams the board. That was Lily Truchon on the shot attempt for the Pointers. Entering her sophomore season. Badgers can hold for the last shot. Looks like they're going to do exactly that.
A good second part of this first half, or first quarter for Wisconsin.
Porter gets the screen. Spashovsky driving in, has a lane, leaves it short. 3 seconds left. Pointer's got to hurry, get a shot off. Will not go. Ooh, that one almost went in right there. 16-11 your score as we near the end of the first quarter. Back and forth battle so far, Nate. Been pretty fun.
It's been really fun. The Pointers came out firing in that first half of the first quarter, and then Wisconsin was able to go on a nice 7-0 run to close up that quarter. 16-11, it's a competitive game here so far, Vince, and it's been exciting to watch.
Looking at Stevens Point right now, Alexa Thompson having herself a decent start to this game. 5 of Stevens Point's 11 points, including a 3-pointer, 4 offensive rebounds as well. This is mentioned before, Stevens Point led the conference in defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds, obviously total rebounds as well. But rebounds, just something, yes, there's a lot of technical ability to it as well, but you got to think that's also effort-based.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back for the second quarter. You're watching Big Ten Plus. Kohl Center. Badgers leading by 5 as we enter quarter number 2. Vince Hesburgh with Nate Hendon. And Nate, you can see the stats between these two teams. Anything standing out for you?
I think that the rebounds per game, look at UW-Stevens Point averaging 40.5 rebounds a game to Wisconsin's 37.1. And then really the turnovers a bit for Wisconsin too.
And heading back, I think Giannis Jimenez got whacked in the face. Last thing you want to see from an exhibition game. Talk about the ferocity between these teams, but it's tough. Definitely an inadvertent collision.
An inadvertent collision, I'm sorry. But it looks like she's going to be okay. It just got her in the eye, and it's not a fun place to get.
Getting a look at it here.
Oh! Yeah, it looks just a bit head-to-head contact. Jimenez was looking in a good moment there from the two players. Courtney Krieger giving Jimenez a high five, apologizing, said that was not personal whatsoever.
That was Krieger guarding Jimenez right there. Now Jimenez got it back. And here come the Pointers first in a turnover, loose ball, and now it's the Badgers out hustling the Pointer. Lob up top, and the finish won't go for Spashovsky. Very nearly another highlight play from the freshman. Now Jimenez trying to find Williams, that gives it up to the Serbian. Back out it goes. Porter pump fakes, drives in. There's Williams going up and in.
And a really good coaching move by Hockett to come out in his zone, almost forced the turnover right away, but then Wisconsin was able to slow down. Coach Mo was able to call a good play and be able to score a point on the zone.
Spashovsky technically listed as a freshman. As you can tell, she's got some serious playing experience. That shot out of bounds. Badgers will take over.
And I like the way she's cut so far tonight. She's cut into the paint. She's also had that open three. Looked confident with the shot, although it didn't go in. She has both. She can score inside and she can score outside, which is huge.
Porter guarded by the upperclassman Krieger. Krieger, a fantastic perimeter defender. You can see Porter trying to use the screen now, has to give it up. Out it goes to Jimenez. Nice switch from the Pointers. Jimenez through contact, lost it, loose ball, another turnover by the Badgers.
It's already 5 for Wisconsin so far tonight. Pointers have 7, but
Krieger leading the way. Now that's Lily Truchon. Carissa Smith. Smith lost it, and now more diving for the ball. Smith's got it back. I believe a timeout was called.
Timeout from Coach Hockett. But I really like the hustle from both teams so far in an exhibition game, diving on the floor. And I think it just goes back to what we were talking about. When you played against yourselves for the entire time since June, it's fun to get back out against a different team, and you know the tendencies of your players, and that's something that's different when you go play against another team.
Yeah, you can tell that, especially with Stevens Point. They kind of want to practice those hustle situations as well, because when you're in practice, maybe you got to pull your punches a little bit. You don't want to be diving on the ground as much, potentially hurting yourself, but when you're in these game situations, kind of can help yourself get back into regular season form. Ariel.
Thanks, guys. Stevens Point has a new assistant coach this season. Bruce Williams was hired this past spring. He's coming from Cornell College, where he served as the assistant and recruiting coach for the women's basketball team. Head coach Matt Hockett said he hired Williams because of his dynamic background. He brings an analytical view to the game. He says he asks Williams for 2 things: to challenge him every day and to stay loyal to the program. And he says Williams is the epitome of that. Guys?
That's a great point. We talk about how valuable these assistant coaches are before, and even on the recruiting end as well. I think it's a pretty big pickup here for Stevens Point.
It's a big pickup, and I think the recruiting end is, you don't talk about that enough. That's how you build a good team, and in college it's so different from the pros, where in the pros you're drafting a player, where in college you go find them. They want to want you, you have to want them, and having your assistant coaches going across the country, they really do God's work and go all around, and they're just incredible for these head coaches.
Remember, you ever had those, like the black and white U.S. map, you like color in what states you've been to? I'd love to see some of the coaches' maps. They must be very well traveled.
They must be all over. And for Wisconsin, even in Serbia, talking to Spashovsky.
So far, Badgers leading 18-11. Bit of a run on their hands. You can see the defense has kind of been the story of this game so far. Stevens Point 5 of 17, Badgers 7 of 20.
I think defense and also the free throw shooting. Stevens Point hasn't been to the line yet, or Wisconsin 3 of 8 from the line. The 3 of 8, it's just a product of an early season. Yes, you can shoot as many free throws in practice as you want, but there's nothing about shooting a free throw with the crowd, with music going on in the background, with the fans here, and especially with a good Stevens Point crowd, they've been making a little bit of noise, and that's why you've seen Williams miss a few.
8 free throws from the Badgers, 7 of them taken by Sarah Williams, just 2 for 7 on those plays. Ronnie Porter unable to flip possession, still resetting. 3.1 left on the shot clock coming back from that timeout. A bit of a catch and shoot scenario. McIntyre, fall away jumper, left short. Porter slicing through traffic. Now the corner it goes. You can see McCray in the thick of it right there, flipping that arrow that will stay with Stevens Point.
Yeah, Carter McCray down there. Carter McCray, the only Badger getting the offensive rebound, and then 4 pointers surrounding her, trying to gather that ball and force that jump ball.
Turnaround floater will not go. You got to give credit, though, to Stevens Point, because Williams just has fantastic interior presence, but they're not shying away. Leisinger from the corner. You get a loose ball foul on McCray.
McCray went up high for that one, but I'm really impressed with the pointers so far. After Sarah Williams took over the start of that game, 3 for 3 from the field, they've quieted her down in the second half of the first quarter.
It's not like Williams is on much of a minutes restriction right now either. We're currently logged at 10 minutes in this game, most among Badgers. Kickball on the Badgers, stay with the pointers.
And I think that's something to talk about that's interesting, Vince, is in an exhibition game, how are you going to bring subs in? How are you going to play people? And you see Williams and Curran checking out right now for Wisconsin. 2-pointers checking out as well. I believe that's Loftus and Trushan.
Brenna Gary also checking in, freshman from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And oh my goodness, Porter once again on the steal. She's in the clear once again, going up, and more points for Ronnie Porter. 6 at that, all of them off the break.
More points and more steals. That's number 3 for Ronnie Porter on the night.
And she's just a player who, small in stature, but from the way that Wisconsin coach have described it, she just does not care about it whatsoever. The doubt, she's not fueled by it necessarily. She's just kind of goes about, does what she does. And you usually expect a small player like that, the 2 things you expect them to struggle with would be perimeter defense and rebounding, but she is quite good at both of them. Porter will be dinged up for the foul. Heading to the line will be Alexa Thompson.
And we talked about Thompson, already 5 points on the night. This is Stevens Point's first trip to the line. We'll see what Thompson can do from the line. She's a 90% free throw shooter.
Thompson, the junior from De Pere, has a real nice first step. 26 minutes per game for her last year. You expect that maybe to even go up a little bit further now this year. So many new young players.
And I expect that point total to go up as well, too. Only averaged 9.4 points, but especially that minutes total goes up, that points total will likely follow.
Matt Hockett, a guy who he kind of spaces out the number of minutes. A lot of depth on this team, and they like to use it. McCray working down low, going up, and 1 for her.
It's the 3rd and 1 for Wisconsin here tonight. A good tough take by McCray, turns to her left, and now she'll go to the line. We'll take a look at that again. McCray gets the ball down low, uses her body, turns to her left, throws it up with her right, actually, and able to sink it.
McCray only 6'1", but just feel like she plays a little bit taller than that. So much rebound presence, averaged a double-double last year. Only 62% from the line. Bad pass, out of bounds.
I think Vince to talk something about Carter McCray. She's only 6'1", and some of those leading rebounders in the NCAA, Sarah Williams, 6'4", Cameron Brink, believe 6'5", 6'6", and Angel Reese, too, a rebounder, and those are some big names, and there you saw McCray up there on the list with those big names in NCAA women's basketball.
Yeah, talk about how Ronnie Porter is such an effective rebounder, 5.5 rebounds per game, and part of that's due to her hustle, but the other side of it, when your second leading rebounder is 5'3", that probably means that you can afford to get a little bit better in that department. Jimenez dumping it off, loose ball, another turnover, first by the Pointers.
And great defense there from the Pointers, just swarming when the ball got in the paint after McCray had that and one, made a quick adjustment and able to force a turnover.
Carissa Smith giving it to Loftus now from the corner. A foul is waved off. No, I believe step out of bounds. Turnover on the Pointers. That was Kira Mackey, 5'10" freshman.
And I think that play goes back to spatial awareness. Just getting out here, first game of the year. You're still trying to figure out just that space. Where can I stand at the three-point line? And right there, her back foot just touched the back of the line.
Well, especially if these players as well, not just their first game action, but first collegiate action for a plethora of these players, including Mackey. Leisinger a corner three. That one won't go. Badgers now 1 of 9 from 3. That was something they were looking to get a lot better at going into this year. The big thing for them is that they've got the talent on the floor. You got to think those numbers stabilize eventually.
I think they will, and I think Tess Myers will be a huge part of stabilizing those three-point numbers.
Speaking of threes, right on cue, Carissa Smith.
That's an addition. We talk about Tess Myers as an addition for Wisconsin. Carissa Smith, an addition for the Pointers. That transfer from Black Hills State.
Carissa Smith shot .292 from deep last year. Obviously, still time to develop if you're a sophomore. Expect that freshman to sophomore jump to be as big as any other.
I think that's a really good point, Vince. The jump from freshman year to sophomore year is huge because you're just spending another year on campus. And to talk about with freshmen, it's your first time in college, so you're getting used to being in college and getting used to being a Division I, Division II, Division III athlete.
Oh yeah, we can pull back the curtain a little bit here, Nate. I mean, college is wild enough without being a college athlete as well. Got a lot of respect for these players. Another missed three there from Myers. Now 0 for 4 on the day from deep.
She's not afraid to shoot it, and she still won't be afraid to shoot it as it goes throughout the night, but would like to see one go in for her confidence.
And that's the value of having such a distinguished player. I'm sure that she's had plenty of 0-4 starts, also had plenty of 3 for 3 starts as well. So you're not going to lose that confidence. You've been doing it this long. Pass ahead to Jimenez, getting behind the defense.
And a really nice transition offense from Wisconsin, taking it out, and Jimenez a great finish with her left hand. And that all comes back to the pass to get them out on transition.
Badgers a team that play with pace. You can see why you got Ronnie Porter, Giannis Jimenez. And you got to think that's a big reason why the Badgers brought in Yvonne Spajovsky is that she's been looking great so far in transition. Murphy passing it to Smith. Back to Murphy it goes. The three-pointer off the mark.
And I really like being on the offensive glass from the Pointers, from Stevens Point. Just a good job getting a hand in there, tipping it out, but then it eventually got tipped out by Wisconsin. But again, that's what you have to do to beat this Wisconsin team. Be aggressive on the offensive end, be aggressive on the defensive end, and crashing the glass, especially like what they did right there.
That'll be Ava Loftus to inbound under the basket. Starting to see a plethora of players getting that playing time, and honestly, just feels like a neat experience more than anything, playing at the Kohl Center, regardless of how the game goes.
Yeah, it really is. But for Wisconsin, they've been in this rotation of 9 players. I wonder if that'll start to change as you get to the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter. But for Stevens Point, you're right, Vince. They've been rotating players in and out in the first and second quarter.
In Wisconsin, they played their starters big minutes last year. Depth was not their biggest asset. So getting these new players back, that's going to be big because they got themselves a great new player in Spashovsky getting it done once again.
Yeah, already 5 points for her tonight.
Now on the other hand, that's Loftus. And another turnover. Hallie Douglas, seeing her first minutes of the season, goes up and gets fouled.
And I really like to see Hallie Douglas back and healthy. She was healthy for half of the season last season, but still rehabbing that ACL injury. But it's great to see her back. She's a leader on this team, taking it down the floor in transition. Now got fouled and go to the line, but it's great to see Allie Douglas back.
Absolutely. Touched on before. Went over a year without playing due to an ACL injury. Returned midway through last year, and she was still hurting when she came back, playing limited minutes. You kind of wondered if that creeps into the assistant coaches at all. Can she get herself all the way back? But by the end of the year, she played 38 minutes against St. Louis in their final game of the season. Gave them decent production as well. So you got to think that leg is fully healed. Had a big brace on last year, but nothing anymore.
I'm sure not only excited for her, but also excited for her dad who played at Wisconsin. She's been a Badger her entire life, and especially with this last season as a grad student, it'll be exciting to see what Hallie Douglas can do.
Well, the Badgers, they did lose a couple of players going into this year. Sanaya Copeland is an incredibly pesky defender, ultimately transferred from Wisconsin to Kansas, I believe. Stepping out of bounds for Stevens Point, that's Maddie Murphy. But you got to think a lot of the best pickups that the Badgers had, and that's just kind of the current state of college basketball, is the players are currently on their roster.
Yeah, some really great pickups for Wisconsin. That'll make a huge difference going into the season. But you also have to talk about the players that they've had all for 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, or even just 1 year.
Spashovsky again, fantastic off-ball movement. Wisconsin pulling away another 7-0 run, 5 of their last 7, 3 for their last 3. Porter knocking that one out of bounds.
There's the pesky defense from Ronnie Porter. Gets a high five from Coach Mosley after poking that ball out.
Wisconsin still 12 of 29 from the field, but their defenses came to play against Stevens Point, 6 of 23. Stevens Point second last in points scored per game last year in the WIAC. We mentioned before they played some ferocious defense that's been on display. Drive by Thompson, block, gets it right back up. Can't get the roll.
Thompson did a fantastic job there, sticking with the play, even though she got blocked, able to gather it up again. And it's been now 2 minutes, 51 seconds since Stevens Point scored, and even 5 turnovers in their last 4 minutes and 29 seconds.
2:17 left in quarter number 2. Spashovsky down low. Leisinger's blocked, but a foul.
It's an unbelievable pass from Spashovsky to find Leisinger. Stevens Point still in the zone, but a good left-handed pass and to allow Natalie Leisinger to draw the foul.
If you had to guess what year in college Spashovsky would be, freshman would probably be my last guess if you gave me 4. But you got that professional experience. I'm sure that definitely helps.
Professional and international experience has been important for her.
Leisinger at the line, started just about every game last year. Known for her three-point ability, 31% last year, but was clicking as the year went along. They're going to need her on the defensive end this year in particular, with Copeland departing.
They really are, and somebody to step into the role that Sanaya Copeland provided on the defensive end. Will Natalie Leisinger be?
That was Gabby Galita on the jumper attempt from the free throw line. Porter giving it up to Williams. Fall away jumper, no good. That's Thompson leading the way. Got a height mismatch on Porter. You can see Porter pouncing for that steal right there. Pointers love their pick and roll. You can see why. Floater left short.
Now 0 for 6 in their last 6 attempts are the pointers.
Leisinger, a deep tray. Got it to go.
Those free throws just got Natalie Leisinger in rhythm, and she felt super comfortable. Took that one from a few feet behind the three-point line.
Badgers getting in rhythm now. Lead all the way up to 18. Pointers looking to respond. They do exactly that.
Just what a great shot there from Mortensen, Emily Mortensen, the junior from Oregon, Wisconsin.
Mortensen, another one of those athletic players with a quick first step. 30% from 3 last year. Just 10 minutes per game. Another one of those players where you start at Stevens Point as a freshman. You just kind of start building your way in the lineup. Emily Mortensen, back-to-back buckets, and Wisconsin calls time.
And Vince, is it Groundhog's Day? Because that felt like the exact same play, back-to-back. Mortensen, 2 great threes, pretty much from the exact same spot. And now it's just a 12-point game and a quick 6-0 run.
And you can see the pristine passing on display from Stevens Point. They've got themselves some open shots. Still in a bit of a hole. Can they keep climbing their way back out? We'll find out in just a bit. We'll take a quick break. Be right back. In Madison, Wisconsin leading by 12 over Stevens Point, but a 6-0 run from the Pointers. Compliments of exactly one player, Emily Mortensen. Back-to-back trays. You can see the hustle on display right there, right in front of the Pointers bench. That's out of bounds. And you can see Hackett just losing his mind.
Losing his mind, excited for his players. He might be playing defense too.
I don't want to... I feel like I got to call out what I see here. You talk about how Hackett definitely burning some calories. Just looking at his shirt right now, there's plenty of physical evidence of exactly that. Having the time of his life right now.
He really is, and this is a big possession for the Pointers to cut the lead maybe to single digits at the end of the second half, or second quarter.
Carissa Smith giving it up to Loftus, seeing some extended playing time this year. Sophomore driving in, has room, leaves it just short, and that will take us to half. Badgers leading by 12. That being said, wants to reach another level, because if she were to get drastically better, I think the nation would be in trouble, Nate.
Yeah, and she already has 3 blocks tonight. She was a Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year last year, and that's just the example of it. She blocked tons of shots and averaged 2.8 blocks a game.
Back underway in Madison, Badgers lead by 12, but a 6-0 spurt to end the half from the Pointers. Out to the corner it goes. Now fed down low, and another basket for the new acquisition for the Badgers.
And Thompson for the Pointers tried to intercept that pass, but Spashkovsky stayed there, gathered the ball even after it got tipped, and ultimately was able to get a bucket.
Porter reaching in. I think it might have been a jump ball there.
We've had a couple of those tonight. I like how the refs they're not blowing the whistle too much. They're letting the game be physical, especially in an exhibition game. You want players to play, and you want to get minutes, and you don't want the whole game to be from the free throw line.
Only 5 fouls on the Badgers compared to Stevens Point's 11 as the Badgers out on the attack. What's so encouraging about that is the Badgers are still aggressive. They're getting those steals, they're getting those blocks, and they're getting those transition buckets as well.
And those transition buckets have been huge, and the layups really for Wisconsin. Now 10 of 16 on layups tonight. Those are shots that you have to make, and even missing 6 layups, not the greatest thing, but those are shots that a coach would talk about you got to hit.
Going to work, but hitting front rim for Stevens Point was Gabby Golita. Golita 1 for 5 now, corner 3, and now it's 0 for 5 for Tess Myers from deep.
0 for 5, and she's just going to keep shooting. We said this earlier, she takes threes. That's her bread and butter, and she took over 205, or made 205 threes last year, shot 36.1 from the arc.
Myers, I believe she shoots 82% of her shots from 3. Liza get up to Williams. That's her spot. Instead, it's stripped away. Out it goes, and the Pointers stifle Sarah Williams down low.
Showing us correction on Myers. She attempted 205 threes, didn't make 205 threes. Those would be some absurd numbers.
Well, it seems like she's capable of it with her pedigree, but yeah, that's more Steph Curry level stats right there. Thompson transferring it. And now McIntyre going to work and another block.
And number 4 there from Williams. She just gets that right hand up. She has long arms and is able to just come down and block those shots. And it's just a huge thing to have inside of the paint, and something that Coach Mosley loves to have on her team.
And another big thing that Williams has gotten better at is avoiding foul trouble. She played just about less than 30 minutes per game last year, not due to conditioning, but due to the fact that she was getting in foul trouble to start the year, but she got much better down the stretch. It's a mindset thing, just that ability to toe the line, be as physical as you can without quite getting that foul.
She has no fouls tonight, but One thing to note is that Carter McCray coming in for Wisconsin, if Sarah Williams gets in foul trouble, there wasn't a great answer for the team last year, but now McCray is a great answer at that center position.
That's a good point, Nate. The Badgers got absolutely thrashed in Williamless minutes last year. So Carter McCray, that's going to be a fantastic insurance policy, especially on the rebounding side. Slicing through Williams and barely missing out on the jumper. Now push shot will go off glass.
And a good take there from Loftus, and then ultimately off of the offensive rebound, a great bucket there from the Pointers.
Carissa Smith now at 5 points on the day.
They're still in that zone they played in the second quarter.
How about Ava Loftus, though, trying to cross on Sarah Williams? Almost got that jumper to go. Speaking of which, Williams just so lanky, able to slice down low.
Lanky's a great way to describe that. She uses her long strides and able to gather so much distance in each step, and that's what you saw there from Williams.
But when she gets a crease, she is devastating. Another block for her. That's 5.
And I think it's funny to watch Sarah Williams after she gets a block. It's just routine. She just shrugs her shoulders. She's like, it's my 5th block of the night.
She is known to be a very fiery player, has received technicals in the past, but you can just imagine how brutal that is from a mental standpoint. You keep going after Sarah, and she keeps getting those blocks. Now in transition, that's Douglas, the grad student, and 1.
And a great take there from Douglas. But didn't love that play from Lily Truchon. You were already beat. There's no reason to grab Hallie Douglas. Just let Douglas get the basket. You don't need to let her go to the free throw line.
As the great Kenny Rogers once said, you got to know when to hold and when to fold. And that's something Stevens Point has been unable to do so far. Personal foul number 12 on them.
Just didn't know you were a big Kenny Rogers listener.
I'd sing, but I think all the TV screens would explode watching this game. Douglas misses the free throw.
Free throw is not a problem for the Pointers, but really a problem for Wisconsin. Now 6 of 14, not even 50%.
Thompson had a decent first half. Hounded by Leisinger, looking to give it up. Instead, a turnaround bucket. Not quite.
Thompson might have forced that one. Trying to get a double. Trying to get a double-double. She already has 16 rebounds, 13, or sorry, not 16 rebounds. The team has 13 offensive rebounds, but she has 7 offensive rebounds and 6 defensive rebounds. So yes, 13.
7 offensive rebounds. The Badgers have 8. And just seeing that production from a player who's 5'8". We talk about rebounding quite a bit, and it's definitely a mindset part of it. But man, that technicality involved is fantastic. Almost Charles Barkley-esque. Cut to the rim. Won't go. Stevens Point, they're getting some open looks here. You can see the passing on display. That's Ava Loftus unable to convert. Douglas firing down low. That's Carter McCray going up. Oh, and gets walloped.
A good take from McCray. I'd be really curious to see Williams and McCray in the same lineup for Wisconsin. We haven't seen it tonight, and it seems like every time Williams checks out, McCray's checking in. But it'd be interesting to see a 6'1" Carter McCray, a 6'4" Sarah Williams in the same lineup together.
That's a good point, because Carter McCray made the move, transferred to Wisconsin, and you got to think if you're going to transfer to a place, the expectation that you're going to be playing some heavy minutes. So it's not a matter of if but when for the Williams-McCray lineup. And that is going to be an interesting part of this Badger team to watch. Inbound goes to Douglas, another loose ball, and Stevens Point do what they do best. Scrapping around, diving for those loose balls. We're second in the WIAC in points allowed per game at 57. That being said, Oshkosh was in first, allowing a touch over 50 points per game. So a lot of real talented teams there, but Oshkosh, you can see why they've had so much success. Going up and drawing a foul for Stevens Point is Gabby Golita.
We focused on Gabby Golita in the open, only 2 points so far tonight, but we could see her have a bigger second half.
You talk about trying to balance the physicality of a regular season game with it being an exhibition. I think that we've seen some collisions here, all of them inadvertent. I think for the most part, these two teams have done a pretty good job of keeping themselves upright.
They really have done a good job of keeping each other upright, and I think an exhibition game, it's a friendly game. There's definitely some fiery aspects to it, but all in all, you want everybody to stay healthy. You want people to see good minutes, and we've seen that so far. Yeah,
no ill will between these two squads. It's been great to see whenever you do see that collision. Stevens Point quick to run over and make sure that everyone's okay here.
And that all goes back to coaching for both teams, for Coach Mosley and Coach Hockett. That's how you teach a team to play.
We talk about Coach Hockett a lot for good reason. He's been a privilege to see so far this game. I touched on his attire before. He does have himself a coat on now, and he's going to be extra toasty now the rest of this game. Douglas feeding it. McCray finishing it.
And a really good play there from McCray. And I think going back to talking about Wisconsin's coaching, Coach Fro works a lot with the paint players, but Coach Mosley, just an incredible coach for Wisconsin. Now in her 4th season, I believe, with the Badgers. She's 34-58, but that record doesn't show everything. She's really turned this program around.
Yeah, you got to give the university credit as well. 3-pointer out of bounds, and it will stay with Stevens Point, I believe. But back to Coach Mo, or no, will be a Badger ball. This was a Badger team where Marissa Mosley knew that it wasn't going to be a 1-year turnaround, just how rare those are. You talk about it takes 4 years to get in a full slate of new recruits. So she said that her goal is just to keep the trajectory arrow pointing up, and she's done exactly that. More wins for this program every single year she's been at it. She's exceeded them on the number, and you can see Stevens Point first in a turnover. Is that a backcourt violation potentially?
I don't know if it was a backcourt violation, but it just looked like Jimenez might have used her elbow, used her arm to push off the Stevens Point defender, and then ultimately committed the foul.
Listed as offensive turnover for Jimenez. Either way, another great hustle play from the Pointers. Thompson stepping back, letting it fly. Alexa Thompson showing off the step-back prowess.
Showing off the step-back prowess, and then now it's gonna count as a basket. She might go to the line now for an extra to have a pretty rare 4-point play that you don't see that often.
I think it may have been off-ball foul. We'll see what the ruling is, but either way, Wisconsin will take a timeout. Give some credit to Stevens Point here. They've thrown their best punch back at the Badgers, particularly in this third quarter. And now we will take it to Ariel with another report. Ariel.
And I think for the rest of this game, if you're Stevens Point, you've got 4 minutes, 55 seconds left in this third quarter. It's time to make a run. You're down 16. The game's not out of hand, but it could easily get out of hand in this next half of the third quarter.
Yeah, and we've alluded to the where to toe the line, the potential intensity of this game many times, and it's obviously a great memory made for these Pointers players playing at the Kohl Center to start their season, but even better memory is not just playing against the Badgers, but beating the Badgers. So you can see they're extra scrappy here this evening, and they're still in this game.
They really are, and if you talk about attendance levels for Stevens Point, 302 people average attend the game at home. For Wisconsin, 4,214, which is their highest since 2011. Not to say there's 4,214 people here tonight, but there's a good showing of crowd, and definitely more than that 302 number.
Pretty split ratio here. It's going to sound like I'm being extra diplomatic, but it's got to be at least 50-50 between the two fan bases. Not a long drive from Stevens Point. Not exactly a short one either, but it feels like when you get to see, especially for the relatives of these players playing at the Kohl Center, you get all the aunts and uncles showing out.
And there's a Wisconsin native, Lily Cron from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, the junior, and it's good to have her back. Somebody who dealt with some injuries last year, was able to get back towards the end of the season, but now is fully back and healthy.
Give and go. That's Crone ripping it away and forcing a turnover. Number 16 on Stevens Point. Speaking of turnovers, another one forced by DePere. Got a jump ball. Arrow faces the Pointers.
Wisconsin now 3 of 13 from 3. That's something that they were looking to work on. Shot a ton of threes last year, but weren't really making them. Tonight, they've shot a decent amount, made a few, but that'll be something that they will like to improve on going throughout the season.
Badgers a tick under 30% from deep, but they got pretty red hot in the tournament from behind the stripe, and it's one of those deals where Wisconsin, they can kind of play around of trying to avoid taking those threes, but especially in this modern iteration of basketball, that's just something that you got to knock down, and they've gotten the right pieces in.
And in terms of three-pointers, right there, a foul on the Pointers, but Emily Mortensen had the ball in her patented spot. She hit 2 threes from there to go into the second half and was looking for a third.
You're wondering when we're going to see Mortensen again on the floor now. 3 won't go. There's McCray with her patented putback move.
Speshkovsky not necessarily passing that one, but because of McCrae's great rebounding, it looked like it was a pass, and McCrae was able to gather that one.
Now Lofton, she's been aggressive today. However, a turnover for the Badgers. They've been great out of the break. Porter giving it up, and Speshkovsky caps it off.
And that is practice since June. That's your 3-on-2 weave drill. A great job from Wisconsin. Multiple passes. Don't let the ball hit the floor. Able to lay it in, and that's all you talk about. We'll take a look at that again. A beautiful pass from Hallie Douglas and to Jovana Speshkovsky, and I think that got Speshkovsky, 11 points. She's in double digits.
She's also making an impact in other statistical areas as well. 4 rebounds per game, 3 assists. Just a fantastic all-around player. You can just kind of feel like that she operates well within this system, where the way it's been described to me is a lot of these newer recruits, they're kind of like the unhardened cement you can use to make the foundation. When you bring in these players who are going right back, they're kind of a hardened brick. Sometimes I hope they fit right into that slot. It seems like that Speshkovsky is exactly that. Going to take a quick break, back in a jiffy. Back at the Coastal, we alluded to her quite a bit, but Jovana Speshkovsky has been playing fantastic for the Badgers at a surprise start.
Yeah, and she's touched every aspect of his stat sheet: points, rebounds, assists, fouls, turnovers, blocks, steals, and also her plus-minus 18 right now. So that's second on the team, but she's really just been fantastic, and her cutting is what I've been impressed with so far tonight.
Yeah, still not exactly sure what this Badger starting lineup will look like. They got some depth this year, absolutely a luxury, where I felt like they were pretty thin last year, but just another cog that can be placed into the system. Potentially a great one as well, because you got to think that obviously when you're a player who's got some national team experience, you're going to be more polished than most freshmen, but she still does have that freshman label, so you can think about how she can develop, not just throughout her college career, but even just starting out this year to the end of the season. Back to work go the Pointers. Off-ball foul on the Badgers. And I believe it's going to be free throws for the Pointers. They're in the bonus.
They're in the bonus. So it'll be free throws for them. But I think going back to what you were just talking about, Vince, what's so key about depth is that you can mix and match lineups. When something's not working, you can pull in a player, pull out a player. And I think that's what's going to be key for Coach Mosley, to find the right lineups, find what works well, and it might go game by game.
Gabby Golita at the line. 767 from the stripe. She is a fantastic athlete, a 10-time letter winner in high school. Not only played basketball, also soccer and cross country. She was the most efficient scorer last year. And look, when you're a cross country player, you can see she's got that extra stamina on display. She is the quintessential dive on the floor kind of player.
She has Mbalo go out on Wisconsin. Was right over here. It looked like that could have been Pointers basketball. I thought Jovana Speshkovsky tipped that one out, but it'll be Wisconsin basketball.
That was Kira Mackey getting in there and disrupting the Badger offense. Another one of the freshmen on this Pointers squad. Three-pointer won't go for Crone. McCrae fighting for the board. Putback won't go, and I believe McCrae got dinged up with a foul.
And that's what you talk about with Carter McCrae. 5th in offensive rebounds last year, 8th in rebounds, first for freshmen. We mentioned this earlier. That's what her game is, and she's going to be a beast on the offensive glass for Wisconsin going throughout this year.
Stevens Point was hanging around in this game for a stretch, but feels like Wisconsin, they've kind of put their foot down a little bit here.
One of the things coaches talk about is you break up quarters, but you also break up halves of the quarters, and Wisconsin's really controlled this second half of the third quarter.
Wisconsin outscoring Stevens Point 17-10 in the third quarter. It will stay that way after the miss from Thompson.
That was Thompson's first miss of the night. She's now 2 of 3.
Thompson, probably the best free throw shooter on this team, now 3 of 4.
As somebody who doesn't miss a lot of free throws a lot.
And that's so valuable, especially in WEAC play, where I'm sure just about everyone watching is unfamiliar, but for anyone potentially watching abroad not as familiar with the Wisconsin D3 circuit, it is just about as physical and as talented as it gets. You can see this ability for Stevens Point to be going all out constantly. They're going to need that come conference play in particular. Williams gets in, and she's headed to the line, count the bucket.
It's her second and one of the night. Williams, tough offensive rebound, able to gather it and just does a good job of getting that back up. You look at her use that left arm to gain position, maybe hooked the defender a bit, but was able to put it up and in, and now we'll go shoot a free throw.
Williams has been as advertised, 5 of 6 from the field, 12 points, surprisingly just 2 of 7 from the line. Make it 2 of 8. Worth mentioning, once again, she was 79% from the stripe. So that's kind of why you do these exhibition matches, those non-conference games. You just want to make sure your players are in that right headspace, getting everything clicking going to those all-important conference games. Unable to get the roll for the pointers was Kelly McIntyre. And now Jimenez, she got bumped earlier back in the game, feeds to Leisinger. Can't get the 3 to go. Now a 2-on-2 break. Letting them fly by. And then going up and drawing a foul for the pointers. That's Kira Mackey.
And great job from Kira Mackey. 2 freshmen, Maddie Murphy, Kira Mackey, running a break, moving it down the floor, and did a good job drawing a foul.
Mackey from Escanaba, Michigan.
One of the few players not from Wisconsin on this roster.
Yeah, just looking around here, it's all Wisconsin, Illinois. It's just great to see, because I'm sure a lot of these players in the WEAC circuit, not only do they know each other just from playing in these important conference games, but also play each other in high school as well. There's a lot of these cities that are real close. I'm sure these players on opposing teams are awful familiar with each other, and that's kind of how you develop those big rivalries, because I got to tell you, some of the toughest rivalries in the sport are at that D3 level, especially in Wisconsin. There's some crazy ones. These fans can go all out for those games. When you get that continuity, you know your opponent a little bit better. It just makes it all the more sweeter when you take them down.
It really does, and those high school rivalries, they don't go away, Vince. I mean, those high school rivalries, your rival high schools, I don't know if you had a rival high school, but when we played our rival high school, that was a game you looked forward to most in a season. And even players, you develop playing against those players, especially in basketball. If you're playing center and you're playing against the opposing center, you have that relationship and you're playing against each other maybe 4, 8, 12 times in a year, or in 4 years in high school, and it's huge.
Yeah, you can also see the passion behind this team. Touched on how equal it is between the Stevens Point faithful and the Badger faithful. Just kind of goes to show the level of fandom behind these more niche squads just makes it all the more exciting to cover. And you talk about high school rivalries. I don't want to name names, but if anyone is watching from Slinger, Wisconsin, I still have beef with you for the amount of times you took down my Hartford Orioles in basketball.
Not from Wisconsin, so I can't. I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
You're not familiar with the Slinger Owls?
I'm not.
Good, don't look it up. Heading in and I believe drawing a foul for Stevens Point.
Stevens Point, not too many free throws in the first half, but they've done a good job driving to the basket there. Not a foul, but a good drive. They've drawn a few more fouls and been able to get to the line. But
what was that jump ball there?
It was a jump ball.
Gotcha. Still a good-looking drive nonetheless from Maddie Murphy from La Crosse. Jimenez to Leisinger. Sarah Williams wants it. You can tell she's fighting for it hard in the post. Now Jimenez slicing through defenders and a reach and foul. The way that Wisconsin can center this offense around. Now, I know that it's sometimes rare to see a team be so dependent on one of their bigs to get that offense. But I'll tell you what, Purdue men's hoops had some success last year following that exact same formula here, Nate.
They really did, and Zach Edey was just huge for that Purdue hoops team. And Wisconsin can do the same with Williams, can do the same with McCray, but then you have Jimenez come in off the dribble right there, made a few good moves, drew a foul, and now we'll get 2 easy free throws.
But the important thing about the Badgers' potential offensive philosophy, obviously they're not copying Purdue. Plenty of talented coaches, they got their own bells and whistles within their system. But either way, when you have a big who generates that much attention from the defense, not only is Williams' passing going to be so crucial, but it just makes it all the more important that the Badgers are able to up their ability to convert behind the stripe.
You talk about a big who Wisconsin's excited about. Allie Bisbal just checking in, a freshman, 6'4" from Lake City, Michigan. She's somebody that Wisconsin's excited to have on this team and somebody that could fill in for Sarah Williams when eventually her time as a Badger is over.
Yeah, both her and Williams on the floor. A lot of height for the Badgers, rebounding their specialty. Excited to see what happens when this shot goes up. In the meantime, Kelly McIntyre turning around and drawing a foul.
That's what I talked about just a second ago. They've gotten in the paint, even though you have 2 6'4" players, not scared to get in the paint, not scared to draw a foul, and will end up getting free throws now.
And the reason I allude to just the excitement between these rebounding teams is that Stevens Point might be the better overall rebounding squad, certainly were last year, +8 rebounds per game. That's just the amount of shots that'll generate you throughout the course of a season, especially when you're playing so many of these ugly games, low scoring, plenty of turnovers. Just getting that extra shot attempt very well could be the difference in some of those big conference matchups.
I agree, and Kelly McIntyre just shooting those free throws there. She's been somebody who's been a great rebounder for the team, averaged 3.1 off the bench last year, but she came in with some firepower and a 3-sport athlete in high school, so that rebounding goes into different sports. It goes into intensity. You talked about it earlier with the track and field, just diving on the floor to get those extra rebounds.
Did you ever do track, Nate?
I did not, but I've run a few marathons now.
Are you serious?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, Chicago twice.
Why would you do the same place twice? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit?
It's just,
I'm just jealous.
Yeah,
yeah, that's awesome, dude. Seriously.
Thank you. But I think like one of the things about running in general, and just a lot of these players played multiple sports on the Wisconsin team, on the Pointers team. It makes a huge difference because you just develop that cardio ability. And basketball is such a game of, can you last for 30, 32 minutes? Ronnie Porter, a great example of that for Wisconsin.
Yeah, Porter played over 35 minutes a game. And the more you think about that, the more crazy it is, because the player who's going to be running the most is your point guard, who's smaller, has to move a lot more on the defensive end. Badgers forced a turnover. So she lived up to her role, was a walk-on for the Badgers, burst into that starting role and never looked back. But I'm sure that for the sake of Porter, they'd love to get her some extra rest on the bench, get her some Gatorade.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I also think track and field, you have the jumping aspect of track and field, the high jump, that goes into basketball. Also the sprint speed, like Jimenez right here, super quick, comes down the side, but that sprint speed is also super key. So you see a lot of basketball players be really good track and field athletes as well.
And then as certainly one of the fastest players on the team, you could see her just turn the corner there and force Ava Loftus to commit a blocking foul. Jimenez getting some extended minutes here. 11 right now, 2 of 3 from the field, 7 points, 1 of 1 from deep. Gets the roll.
Jimenez is somebody who shot 75.7% from the line last year. That's a pretty good clip for her.
Right on cue, Nate. Man, I'll tell you, good thing it's an exhibition game, because I think there'd be a couple folks at our doorsteps right now with the amount of jinxes we're putting on both these teams. Stevens Point looking to respond to end out this third quarter, and they do exactly that. Excellent rim run from Ava Loftus.
And an excellent pass as well to set up Loftus. That was a beautiful take.
Badgers have the ability to hold for the final shot. Looks like they're going to do exactly that. Jimenez at the controls, guarded by Loftus. Jimenez a screen, step back, can't cap off the highlight, and that will end it for quarter number 3. Some good stretches from Stevens Point, but you can tell Wisconsin's starting to put their foot down here, Nate.
Yeah, Wisconsin starting to put their foot down. Even though they didn't score in the last 2 minutes and 43 seconds, they've really taken advantage and as we go into this fourth quarter.
24-14 scoring differential in quarter number 3. Quarter number 4 coming right up on Big
4 of those 5 games on Big Ten Plus against Wright State, against Georgetown. They'll go to South Dakota State, not on Big Ten Plus, and then Milwaukee and University of Illinois, Chicago.
But 4 of those 5 games, where do you watch them?
I'll definitely be watching them.
Leisinger now giving it up to Tess Myers. Myers just 1 point. You bet she's going to want to fire away right here with her minutes potentially winding down, but just too easy, but unable to convert there for Spashovsky. The movement there couldn't quite finish.
Great movement and great backdoor pass from Williams, but Spashovsky, she's finished those all night, but wasn't able to do that there.
That's Smith touching it out of bounds, and it will stay with Stevens Point.
So Tess Myers hasn't made a 3 tonight, but her defensive ability has been great. Tipped that one out right there, but she's been a strong force for the Badgers on the defensive end.
That's the big question for her. We talk about Leisinger having to make up for the loss of Sinai Copeland. It's going to be a team effort as well with Myers. Badgers, that's kind of their bread and butter is defense. 6th in the Big Ten last year in points allowed per game. So they racked up 6 conference wins as Douglas snatches that one out of the air. And they got those 6 conference wins despite being last in the Big Ten in points per game in conference play. So this is kind of a defensive team despite some of the sparks. Williams will get more chances at the line.
I think a big part of the defense will be Hallie Douglas. She's listed as a guard on the roster, but at 6'2", she moves somewhat like a guard, but also has the height of a forward and does a great job of just moving around and playing good defense and long and lengthy with those arms and able to get a block just now.
I didn't notice that, Nate. That's a good point that Douglas listed at guard because she played the 5 for the Badgers when Williams injured herself against St. Louis last year. So to have her switch that guard role a little bit, obviously she's going to be doing some rebounding as well, that height a factor, but that kind of tells me the Badgers might want Douglas to be more of a shooter from the perimeter. Gave them 35% last year, their best 3-point shooter. So you can kind of understand the switch.
For sure. And one thing that Sarah Williams just got that free throw to go, but 4 of 12. That's something I think she's going to go to practice tomorrow and shoot a lot of free throws.
You talk about having that mindset. I'm sure that's exactly what she's going to be thinking about, but she's got some reasons to be proud nonetheless. Block number, I believe, 6 for her. Now Meyer leading the way. Kick out to Leisinger, wide open 3.
And that's transition defense there from the pointers. Tess Myers passes a player. It's a 4-on-5. You've got to get out to the shooters, especially Natalie Leisinger, but wasn't able to do that, and Leisinger takes advantage of it.
Able to keep it inbounds. That was Alexa Thompson. Now at the controls is Kira Mackey. Down low it goes. And another block from Sarah Williams.
She's trying to get a double-double just from blocks tonight. Usually that's rebounds for Williams, but tonight it might just be blocks.
Yeah, 6 rebounds for her. I don't think she's going to get enough playing time to get in that triple-double watch, but Wisconsin, they have never had a player get a triple-double in the history of their franchise. Williams could very well be the first. Spashovsky leading the break. Out it goes. Leisinger wants it. And now to the corner. Meyer walled off, and a foul called.
And good passing there from Wisconsin. Selfish passing necessarily. Leisinger was somewhat open. Myers definitely could have hucked one up there, but she's missed a few tonight. Maybe not as confident, but then drives in and draws a foul.
You might say Myers when inbound will go under the Badger basket, pardon me. Now Leisinger will get it back. Williams wants it. She's got her match that will kick it out. Meyer, her first 3, hunting for that first make. It will not go.
Nonetheless, a great pass there.
You can tell she's staying aggressive, and now a steal for the Badgers. Here they come, a 4-on-5 spot. Spashovsky to Leisinger. Lines up the seams. Can't get the roll. Williams out jumping everybody and putting it back in.
And just how Sarah Williams did it in the first quarter. Took advantage, scored a bunch of points, does it again in the fourth quarter. It's a great job of taking advantage and really putting this game not necessarily all the way away, but doing a good job of getting Wisconsin 64 points.
They say Mackey walked with it. Badgers will take it once again. Badgers had themselves a cool start to this game in half number 1. They shot 41%, but it really opened up in that third quarter, 9 of 17, and now starting hot in quarter number 4 as well. Great steal there made.
And good defense there from Stevens Point. Played really good defense all night, only holding Wisconsin to 64 points.
Legal screen called on Galita. Snagged the steal before.
Right there, you want to play within yourself. You don't want to commit these offensive fouls. If Wisconsin makes a great shot, makes a good play, you shake that one off, but committing offensive fouls if you're the Pointers is not exactly what you want to be doing.
And that is actually foul number 5 on Gabby Galita, so she is officially fouled out of this game, I believe. Still on the floor. You wonder if it's a exhibition. They're going to let them stay in the game a little bit longer.
We'll see what's going to happen here. I believe our referees were asking. Yep, there looks like to be a substitution coming in for Galita.
End of the night for Gabby Galita, expected to be a big part of this team. 1 of 6 from the floor, 5 points.
We talk about these last 3 minutes for the Pointers. 3 turnovers and also in a 3-minute and 8-second scoring drought.
Leisinger rifling it all the way to the other side. Sloan driving in, kick out. Now Leisinger will take it herself. Up top it goes. Now down low. I believe that one will go on Stevens Point.
Looks like that'll be on Stevens Point.
Not a bad foul to take from Maya Rice. Seeing her first minutes of this game.
Yeah, she's a junior. Also from Michigan, I believe. So another player not necessarily from Wisconsin, but from Michigan. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vince.
And she's one of the only transfer players on this team from maybe the coolest college name I can think of, Finlandia, located in Hancock, Michigan. And she was exactly 50% from the floor, 102 of 204. We'll see if Rice can generate a spark in this fourth quarter, because you got to expect that she's going to see some playing time this year.
Just as a junior, this team's it's a really young team, Vince, and especially having juniors and seniors, and you had 4 seniors in the starting lineup today, but those juniors are also a big part of the team.
Spashovsky back to the line. 11 points for her on 11 shots, 5 of 11.
It might not just be Sarah Williams, it might be the entire team. 12 of 25, 12 of 26 now from the free throw line. That's what these exhibition games are for. We can't emphasize it enough.
And the Badgers were very good from the line last year, 74%. Surprising from them.
And seeing her first minutes, Reese Jaramillo for Wisconsin checking in.
Starting to see these benches empty out. Both these teams, you can tell they're committed to getting all of their players some playing time in this game.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a correction. That's Gracie Gresh checking in for Wisconsin, also seeing her first minutes.
And the big additions for Wisconsin were those transfer students. And the surprise of this game has definitely been Spashovsky as a freshman, but Badgers aren't looking, they've got to keep that arrow pointing up trajectory-wise, and that means always having that fresh set of recruits. You can bring in those transfer players that can put a Band-Aid, help you compete in the moment. You can tell the focus is also on getting in some freshmen long-term, and that was a nice catch.
Yeah, really nice catch there.
Willie Crone going Christian Watson mode out there. Jimenez can't get it. Back up it goes. Rebound missed there.
Since Christian Watson is a crazy receiver to pull for that one.
Well, my thought process is that it's 2 Wisconsin teams, so I could probably make a couple of Wisconsin athlete references, as that'll break a 3-minute scoring drought for Stevens Point.
And a really nice bucket there from Stevens Point from Smith. And I think now you've got just over 5 minutes left. I'd expect to see both teams playing some freshmen, maybe playing some players that might not see as many minutes as they would love to see this entire season, but that's what exhibition games are about. You want to get these players time because, Vince, you never know when you have to call on your 11th, 12th, 13th person on the bench. You're in college to play sports, but you're a student athlete. You're not just an athlete, and it's special, and it talks all about what a coaching staff is like to emphasize the academics.
Moving to Wisconsin side, story of this game on both offense and defense has been Sarah Williams. She's been fantastic throughout this game in a multitude of different ways. So great at finding that crease, stepping through, laying it up and in, has stuffed the stat sheet so far today on both offensive and defensive side. 6 to 7 from the field, 7 rebounds, 7 blocks as well. So just an interior force. I think she recognized that Stevens Point, a team that likes to attack the basket, and she has just been inserting her will on both ends of the floor here.
And I think what's been impressive about her is she's just stuck to being under the basket. Everybody loves to shoot threes, but she hasn't shot a three tonight. She hasn't really spread the floor. But that's just maturity. And as a junior now, she knows, okay, I'm going to score under the basket. I can score 16 points in the paint. And that's just what she does. And not necessarily 16 true points in the paint, but she could easily have that number.
That's a fantastic point there, Nate. We actually asked Coach Jarrow about that the other day because Williams, she kind of worked on a bit of a jumper throughout the year. She had a really clutch three-pointer against Minnesota to give them the lead, but this coaching staff cannot emphasize that, yes, Williams, they want her to get better. They want her to have that ace up her sleeve in the form of a jump shot, but what they really want her to do is to not fix something that's not broken and continue to dominate down low. But I think developing that three-level skill set is going to be important because we touched on before, she's going to be sharing the floor with Carter McRae, who's more of an interior scorer. So for Williams to suddenly space the floor a little bit, that's going to add a whole new dimension to this offense.
You just saw Wisconsin space the floor with McRae. Grace Scratch getting her first career assist. What a beautiful pass to find McRae.
Badgers up by 26 right now, blocked out of the air. Bisbal earning her first collegiate block. Now Jimenez putting it on the floor. The step back opts to keep it. You can tell Jimenez, she's definitely got some handles. She's going to drop someone at some point this year.
She does have handles.
Another step back. That one won't go.
Yeah, Vince, her handles are impressive, and almost Caitlin Clark-ish handles. I don't know if that's a crazy comparison to say, but or even Juju Watkins, somebody that Wisconsin will see this year on USC.
Now that's a crazy pull right there. Yeah, that was something with Jimenez, three-pointer won't go, where she kind of had that skill set throughout last year as well. And even as she was slicing through defenders, she wasn't able to quite finish as efficiently as McRae gets it done. But it's not about just having those handles, being able to take someone off the dribble. It's about being able to operate in the system, making those passes. And Jimenez, no assists on the day, but it feels like she's just a little bit more comfortable in this offense.
I think something to highlight for Wisconsin, 42 out of 68 of their points in the paint. You just saw McRae get 2 more for them, but they've just dominated in the paint.
Good offensive rebound from Stevens Point. Maya Rice cannot get the midi to go.
And a good offensive rebound from Rice and able to find herself open. Just missed that shot, but nonetheless a good rebound.
Well, we talked about Matt Hockett quite a bit throughout this broadcast. That three won't go. We got to talk a little bit about Coach Mo as well, because she's a very intense personality on the sideline, but she also wants to bring this fun-loving culture to the Badgers, or something she's been prone to do is she likes to drop roasts on her players both during game at practice. Had the chance to ask her favorite. She said she once told a player, "You don't get NIL for dribbling."
That's a good roast from Coach Mo. And my favorite thing about her is after the game, she gets the crowd into it.
Yes.
And it's special. It's special to bring a crowd. Women's basketball is really on the up now. It's exciting to see what's going on in the game, and Coach Mo's a huge part of that.
Well, she recognizes how important it is to get these stadiums filled. And Cole Steiner, we talked about before, there is a lot of Stevens Point folks here. They made the drive, but Badgers still seeing higher attendance, and that's a legitimate recruiting pitch to have to a player. You want to play in front of these high crowds. And for anyone, I'm not sure if you're able to see the end of the broadcast or not, but after each game, regardless win or lose, no matter how potentially brutal it could be. Coach Mo gets on the mic and addresses the crowd, thanks them all for coming out. I'm sure she'll do the same thing as soon as this game wraps up. But talk about these players trying to play for the fans. They're definitely doing exactly that.
They really are, and it's just the culture. It's the Wisconsin culture. It's also the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point culture too. They just had their inter-squad scrimmage, had the women's team play, had the men's team play, and both coaches just talked about how special of a moment that was to see all the fans come out, and it was a great attendance nonetheless.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to follow both of these teams the rest of the way. Still fighting with just 2:23 left in this game. Going to work with the floater is silky smooth for Allie Bisbal.
And Bisbal almost had her first career points. The buzzer went off at the end of the third quarter, but those are her first career collegiate points. And really just a great pass, too, from Alba Martin Mesa, who's seeing her first minutes of the night.
That's Lena Patabandla bringing it down the floor. You can see McCray also out there. Badgers sure they want to give her some minutes. Bisbal unable to finish there. Now another new addition to this game. That's Brenna Gary on the drive. Threw that one away.
And Gary, the 5'7" freshman from Oshkosh. She was a 6-time letter winner in soccer and basketball in high school. Also 2-time conference honorable mention. So she comes in with some success. And again, another two-sport athlete that we talk about.
It's not rare to see these players as freshmen not play very often, then work their way up the ranks. That's kind of how these WEAC teams do it. And saw that from Courtney Kruger, who's expected to start for Stevens Point this year. Fantastic perimeter defender, and somebody who did not play whatsoever as a freshman. Subtly built their minutes up, and now is a cemented part of this Stevens Point rotation. Now, I will admit, I did try and shoehorn Krieger in there, not just because she's a fantastic player, but also because we have a bit of a mutual connection. Talk about how some of these players know each other. Our own director, Ethan, spent his first year at Stevens Point. His dorm room was literally right next to Krieger's. We talk about the different knowledge within the circuit in Wisconsin. We got our own connection right here. And to Miss Krieger, I can only apologize. I can only imagine how bad it would be to share a room next to Ethan. He strikes me as a guy who gives some loud phone calls at 5 in the morning.
That was a Coach Mosley roast that you just did there, Vince.
I can't hit on Ethan too much. He could take me in a fight. Final minute. Counting down for the Badgers. That's Martine Mesa giving it up. Out it goes to Lena Patabandla. Can't get the tray, but an offensive board. And now a whistle. That'll go on Stevens Point. And I think he's a little bit out of frame. Matt Hockett has not lost an ounce of energy throughout this game.
That's a great coach. If you can have success at tennis and then you can have success coaching basketball in back-to-back years, it's just so impressive as a coach. And I think it's just the intensity in what you see from a coach. You know, it reminds me a little bit of Ted Lasso. You go in, you bring Ted Lasso into a team. He brings this intensity. He's just a great person, and it seems like Coach Hockett's just somebody you would always want to play for, whether you're a tennis player or a basketball player.
You can see Hockett crouching down at the scorer's table. You'll see him in a minute. He's holding a towel right now because he's dripping wet. I think he might burn more calories than anybody on the floor right now. That's kind of been the story of this game. A lot of physicality between these two teams. It's been a blast. The passion's been on display. Wisconsin will get themselves another possession. This has just been fun, man.
This has been really fun, and you never know what you're going to get in an exhibition game, and we got a great game, great hustle, players diving on the floor, and just honestly a great game to watch. Now with 10 seconds left, it's been fun.
Badgers will count the clock down. A fun matchup between these two teams. Will Wisconsin pull before the buzzer sounds? Probably a good call to hold on to it. Great sportsmanship between both these teams, and a great game at that. Both teams showcasing some good stuff, but it was the Badgers earning a very definitive win.
It was Wisconsin, and Sarah Williams led the way with 16 points. Carter McCray got up to 9 rebounds. That's the reason why Wisconsin was winning. They were great on the offensive glass, and they were really just great in the paint on both the offensive side and defensive side.